Good evening. Welcome to Live United. Living United, where we have an opportunity to learn and see and hear about all the wonderful things happening here in the Monadnock region that make a difference in the lives of our citizens. Today I'm joined by Emily Burke. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, thank you.
Emily is with Rise for Baby and Family. Rise for Baby and Family has been around for quite a while now and is a institution here in the Monadnock region. Can you tell us a little bit about Rise for Baby and Family?
Rise began in 1981. We provide early supports and services to children with developmental delays and disabilities and their families. We work with children birth to 3. We do home visits and service coordination for children and their families. We also have a child care program on site that focuses on including children with special needs with their typically developing peers. And within that child care, we're also able to offer playgroups.
And one of the things that I understand you do, Emily, is you do home visits. And that's such a critical piece of the well-being for the whole family, of the individual, the child, their parents, their siblings. And, you know, all the studies show now that it's a huge part of determining how successful they'll be throughout their lives. So can you tell us a little bit about what home visiting is like? Because you're part of that.
Yes, so we see children in their most natural settings when we work with them. So that's tends to be in their homes or childcare settings, and we often do visits out in the community as well to connect with other resources in the community. But we're working with many different kinds of families with unique needs, and we work with children and their families on goals that are set by the family. So it's really a family-centered process. We're working on a variety of different developmental delays, children who are medically fragile, children with autism, so lots of different needs. And then we can also help families connect with other resources in the community that will help their family be successful. So we do play-based home visits. We often bring a bag of toys with us, and we're working on any goals around motor skills or language skills or learning, and modeling strategies for parents and families, and assessing progress as we go on each home visit. And we're able then also to coach families and childcare providers on using strategies themselves to help meet children's needs.
So how would a parent know they might need your services?
Parents can refer children themselves if they have concerns about their child's development. They can call with questions about development. We get most of our referrals from pediatricians and sometimes from child care providers that share a concern with parents as well. Anybody can make a referral, but those are usually the people that do it.
I know that one of the assessments that a lot of folks are using in the area is called Ages and Stages, and that helps determine or pinpoint perhaps some of the developmental things that may be going on. When you go into a home, you're doing this assessment. What about when the assessment's done? What kind of support then goes on for family? You set goals with them. But what would it look like if you were coming into my home?
So we do an initial evaluation after a referral, and we're able right then to give feedback to families as to whether a child is eligible or not. We generally write a goal and what's called an individual family support plan right at the first assessment, and that includes a summary of each area of development and at least one goal that we start with so that parents have something to take home with them. And depending on the child and family needs, I would say we usually provide a weekly home visit that starts within a couple of weeks after the first assessment. And we'll go out to the home, and like I said, we'll bring toys, we'll play. It's really fun and relaxed and comfortable for families usually. And the assessment is also play-based, so that's usually fun for children. They just think they're playing, and we get a lot of valuable information.
And I was just going to ask that because I'm sure our audience is thinking, well, they go out and play with them. How does that tell them developmentally what's going on with them?
Well, children in this age group, children birth to 3, infants and toddlers, learn through play. Play is their work, and so we can assess a lot about a child by how they're playing. We can assess how they're moving, how they're using their eyes and their hands together. We look at their cognitive and learning skills through how they're playing. We listen to them talk if they're talking yet. We look at how they're communicating with us in other ways and with their families and how they're interacting. So it provides us with a lot of information.
Now, I know you do the home-based piece, but you also have the center where people have children come. And one of the pieces that you offer is a play group for young people, and it's a therapeutic play group.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a child care program on site. So we're able to include 4 children who are receiving early supports and services into the child care. Each day, 4 different children come, and they join the regular child care children, and it's an opportunity for the children in playgroup to really perfect their developmental skills and learn to interact with peers. It's a group that fully includes children with a variety of different special needs. We're able to successfully include children who are medically fragile and children with autism, children who have physical disabilities, a variety of developmental delays, children with severe separation anxiety. So they join in the playgroup. They have playtime indoors and outdoors. They eat a snack with their peers, and the teachers are able to work on the goals that the home visitors set with the families for what they want their child to be working on while they're there in playgroup.
That's so wonderful. My daughter went to Winston Prouty Center in Brattleboro earlier in my career before I was over here, and that integrated environment I think was so helpful to her development of empathy, and she has such a value for diversity and inclusivity, and I just feel like it was instilled very young because of the environment she was in. So I love seeing that, and here she is going into a career now path that really embraces that, and she's passionate about it. So it's interesting, I think, for parents to really consider that opportunity, because I see it as a real opportunity. Yeah. You know, really learning how to be socially with people from all different backgrounds.
Yeah, and this is often a family's first experience in leaving their child to be cared for by somebody else and leaving their child in a group. And so it's just so important, and it's important to us to be able to model how to have a program that's inclusive for young children, for the community.
So really, when you think about it, it's not just the child that's benefiting, it's really the whole family. And your name is Rise for Baby and Family. Talk about some of the other things that go on for families, because I know your families are very involved over at Rise.
So there are a lot of ways that families are included. We make sure that we're connecting families with other resources in the community that they might need. We do events at Rise for families. We have a holiday party every year, and we've been doing an event called Toddler Fest for the last few years that's open to the community, as well as the Rise families to come and join that. But a big part of our work is connecting families with the resources they need to be successful.
One of the neat things I get to see in my role at the United Way is the involvement of families in your board of directors, and they just really engage, and I use the word passion about my daughter. these families are not only passionate about their children, but about the work that Rise does, and it's really wonderful to see. If somebody needed Rise services, how do they reach out to Rise?
They can contact Rise directly. The phone number is 603-357-1395. We have a website as well, and we're also on Facebook. And referrals first go through Monadnock Developmental Services, so that's often a family's first point of contact for Rise, is to meet with the intake person there, and then they'll send the information over to Rise.
And how would they, if a pediatrician hasn't identified that a child might be in need of Rise services, how might a parent know that maybe they should be reaching out to Rise?
Parents can always ask questions at a well-child visit with their pediatrician. Parents can call Rise anytime with questions and talk to any of us. But a lot of times parents just have a feeling that maybe their child's not doing what their peers are able to do. Maybe they're not talking as much as other children their age, or they've hit a certain age and they're not walking yet, or they're having difficulty interacting with adults or with their peers in a childcare setting. Sometimes it's that children are having difficult behaviors. So parents really know their children best and really often know when something's going on, and it's better to ask and come in and have those questions answered than to wait on it.
It's interesting because I saw a parent recently present on feeling like from birth their child it didn't like to be held, felt like there were struggles, and they said, they kept saying, I don't think something's right, and they had a really hard time because they were trying to be an advocate for their child, and they felt like nobody was really listening to them. And that it was, you need to change how you're parenting, or, this is normal. Some kids just don't like these things, didn't like to be breastfed, didn't like to be held. Then when they got a little bit older, didn't play well with their sibling. And it ended up there was things going on, but it took until the child was almost 4 years old for anybody to finally say, yes, we're listening to you as a parent. So what's your advice to parents? Should they just keep advocating, keep pushing, and call Rise and have an assessment done?
Yeah, advocate for your child if you think something is going on or you just have questions. Coming in and having an assessment is, like I said, we play. It's fun. Even if your child's not eligible, we'll leave you with strategies and resources to go home with. And often parents feel relieved to know what's going on with their child. And it does happen occasionally that pediatricians or childcare providers or other, people will say, oh, it's okay, wait and see, they're little, wait and see. But really, this time period for children in the birth to 3 age group is the time to address issues. There's really no better time.
And I think it's hard because, especially if you're a new parent, lots of times everybody's giving you advice for one thing about how to parent. We both know that. But they're giving you advice on how to parent, so then you're left thinking you're doing something wrong. And I think what you're saying to people is be self-assured. Yeah. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to reach out and find out, whether the feeling you're having is a feeling that you really need investigated further.
Yep. And parents know their child better than anybody else in the world. So it really is important to listen to your instincts.
So really looking for those things that you mentioned that, maybe they're not wanting to be held quite as much, or they're not movement-wise, where you think they should be, or maybe not able to engage with other people in the same way. So just looking for some of those things and not being afraid to ask.
Yes,
So I think that's an important message, audience, for you to hear, that because being a first-time parent especially is pretty scary.
Yeah. A lot of time pediatricians will make that referral based on parent concern and questions. So it's okay to ask the doctor to make a referral, even if they're not expressing the concern as well.
And if a parent needed that service, is there a charge for an assessment?
No, there's no charge for an assessment. There's no charge for any of our services. All our home visits are free to parents. We do bill private insurance when we can. Not all insurance companies pay us, but we'll bill where we can. But no, there is no charge to parents or families for any of our services, including our play group is free to families at this time.
And I know that.
You know that.
Because we help support
yes,
the
it's fully funded by United Way.
Yes.
So.
and it's such an important piece, because I think, we think of play. Play is so interesting, and it's a fascinating word to use, because people think it's all about games and fun and things, and don't realize just how important it is as an element in all of our lives. Even as we move into adulthood, you have to have a form of joy and laughter and engaging with other people. And that's really what play is really being able to utilize all your senses and your skills and do that in partnership with other people. So I love the word play, and I love the word fun. So you've got some great things going on over there. Are there any challenges that Rise is seeing in the early childhood front right now?
I think our biggest challenge at this time is, like all health and human services agencies, we're experiencing cuts to our funding. And so that does make it challenging to continue to provide the high quality services to children and families that are so important. So that's the biggest challenge. That our hope for the future is to have secure and adequate funding that will allow us to continue what we're doing.
Well, there was a pretty devastating cut in New Hampshire to all of the developmental services in particular. So anybody with disabilities, and particularly children. So that was for all age groups here in the state. And that is, our folks, you should be concerned about that, because not only is it our children of the future, and I do want you to share a story at some point, because you have children that have gone on to great paths of success, because they were worked with when they were birthed to 3, and it can make a difference in their whole lifelong success and their career paths and everything else. So I do want you to share that. But I want the audience to really recognize that it's important to advocate for the resources that are desperately needed for people of all ages. And I know Monadnock Developmental Services had a significant cut to their programs. That impacted your programs. Right. And I think what people don't realize is that you work in collaboration and partnership. Many of our programs work together. So when one experiences that, it can have a domino effect to everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
So with that said, people need to advocate. You need to be speaking to your senators and your state reps and getting out there and letting them know that it's important to make sure the resources are available to those that are in need and those that may be in need in the future. But I won't get on my soapbox anymore about that. So let's talk about what you see happen for people as they go through this program. And I'm talking not just the individual, but the whole family.
So I'll tell you about a child that I'm working with currently. I've been working with the little girl for about 6 months. She was referred by her pediatrician with concerns about her development. On her initial evaluation, we found that she was delayed in her overall development. Her learning and play skills were behind, her language skills were really behind. She was not able to communicate her needs effectively. Her motor skills were delayed. She had severe separation anxiety and delayed social emotional skills and ability to interact with other people. And she would scream uncontrollably when her parents tried to bathe her. And in addition to the child's needs, the family was really struggling with a variety of issues as well, including poverty, lack of stable housing, lack of medical care for their children, issues around health concerns for their children, and being able to maintain a healthy and clean home environment for their children to be living in. DCYF was involved on and off with this family, and they had fired another early supports and services agency in another area of the state for an older child in the family. So there were challenges all around, and I began working with them, building a relationship of trust with the parents and with the child, just through our regular home visits and our play therapy that we were doing with the child. We set goals around all areas of her development. I worked to help the family recognize the significant needs of their child for her development and her emotional needs. I worked at connecting them with some other resources in the community for housing, for an agency that could help them with some of the health and cleanliness concerns for their child and family. I helped them try to more successfully navigate working with DCYF and the school system for their older child, as well as the transition for the younger child coming up when she turns 3. And so at this point, the family is fully engaged in services. They look forward to home visits. The child looks forward to home visits. She enjoys the time when I come and play with her. I'm working on teaching the family strategies and coaching them on how to use the strategies that I'm modeling during home visits. And the child has been coming weekly to play group, and this is a child who couldn't handle her mom going outside to put her sister on the bus, and she's been able to successfully separate from her parents to be dropped off, and she's learning to interact with her peers and play while she's at playgroup. The playgroup staff's done a wonderful job connecting with this family and making sure that they have a trusting relationship so that the parents are able to drop their child off and feel comfortable leaving her. And so she's made significant gains in her development over the last 6 months, and we're building a foundation so that she'll be able to successfully join a preschool program when she turns 3.
And that's what I was going to ask, is what does it build the foundation for? Because it allows a child into preschool, but also better prepares them for when they enter the elementary school. Or and ultimately, we know all the research shows if a child's well prepared, before grade 3, they're likely to be more successful throughout their whole life. And you're really addressing some of the trauma. People often think of trauma as being abuse or things like that. But living in poverty, living without cleanliness and housing, and there's a lot of research that shows that the trauma for the child, as their parents experience that stress and that frustration, it can impact a child in a traumatic way in terms of their brain development.
Yep, it does. It changes. I've done a lot of work myself on learning about trauma and attachment and infant mental health, and it actually changes, those experiences change a child's brain development.
So really, it's so critical to have programs like Rise for baby and family who are getting to these children in these families when they're very young, and having impact in their lives. I'm curious, I know you do some fundraisers.
Yes.
Do you have anything coming up
We do.
in the near future?
Yes, on June 2nd, our big annual fundraiser, the Taste of Summer. It's a wine tasting and lots of yummy food, great raffle prizes. We're in a new location this year at the Courtyard Marriott in downtown Keene. It's a really fun event. Tickets are on sale. It's a great event to come to, and the money comes to Rise, which is a great cause.
Super. And what time is that event?
It's 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, June 2nd.
I know that the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, I think, is also doing their annual event that night. So if people are not going to the annual event for New Hampshire Charitable Foundation and you really want to support a local initiative, I would encourage you to be at the Rise event and really get out there and support these families, these children, make a difference in the lives of the future of these children. And it really does. You're doing some amazing work there. You've shared a story. You've talked a little bit about how parents can, what they should look for. They can reach out to a pediatrician. They can reach out to Rise directly. What if their child is in a preschool? Can they go to the preschool director, or if they're in a daycare environment?
Yep. We work really closely with the childcare community in this area, so that's a great resource to ask for help, and the teachers should be able to connect parents with the appropriate way to make a referral if that's needed.
So if a parent has done all those things, they've set goals with you, what are some other things that parents just in general can be doing with their children to help with their health and well-being as they grow up?
Reading to your child, playing with your child, talking to your child, just taking the time to fully attend to them and really pay attention. Undistracted time with your little one is really, really important. We're so busy and connected to our phones and our internet that it's hard, but that's really so important.
You know, and it's funny because I've been reading a lot on the reading and the talking with your child, and that it makes a difference later in their lives if they have a bigger vocabulary of words, that they're finding kids will be more successful later in life. There's these 10,000 word studies.
If you read to your child, they have a better chance of having that 10,000 word vocabulary than if you don't. And parents are their children's best teachers, so.
And there's things people can do prenatally, even, while a child is, you can read to your child and sing to your child, and lots of different things.
Yeah, read nursery rhymes to your belly.
One of the things that has just opened recently over at Harmony Lane is a reading nook for families and their children birth to 5. And part of the reason that was opened was to really encourage parents to begin to engage with reading and interacting with their children from a young age. And Keene State College students are actually over there working with the families.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So it's a really neat program to see. So if you want more information, audience, on that particular program, you can reach out to Keene Housing or to the United Way. That's open to the public. And available to anyone that wants to go over there during the day with their children. But they've set up a whole little reading nook and
really great.
rocking chairs, and the books are available and
I'll
things.
have to go check that out.
Yeah, you should. Well, you have one coming. So.
Yes.
So is there anything else you want the public to know about Rise for Baby and Family, about the work that you do?
Rise we just work really hard to make sure that children are identified early, that they receive the supports that they need for their optimal development. We work to support families in being able to meet their child's needs and to be able to advocate for their child now and in the future. So it's it's really important. The early intervention, early supports and services is really an important time to get to what children are needing.
So you're doing all of those things. You're being an advocate. You're giving. You're, I'm sure you have volunteers. I know you
Yes,
have
yes.
volunteers, lots of volunteers at Rise. If people wanted to volunteer over at Rise, how would they do that?
Oh, they can call Rise and inquire with the office manager, and she'll connect to the appropriate, whether it's volunteering in childcare or doing something else. Tony Ellsworth is the director, so she can help with that, and the lead teacher in childcare, the childcare director, also has lots of opportunities in there working directly with children.
Can you one more time let people know your web address and your phone number?
Yes, it's www.riseforbabyandfamily.org, and the phone number is 603-357-1395, and our director's name is Tony Ellsworth.
And folks, you can reach out to Rise for Baby and Family through the website, through phone numbers. You can also contact Monadnock United Way. You can also, if you need a referral to that program, contact 211. If you can't remember anything else, contact 211 and they will connect you to Rise for Baby and Family. Emily, I want to thank you for joining us. The work that Rise for Baby and Family does is so critical to our community, to the Monadnock region, and the children that live here. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to remind our audience to really think about how you can give to this program. If you can't afford to give directly through a donation perhaps, or a donation through the United Way, give your time, because they love volunteers and they need them. You're working with a lot of children there and a lot of families. So, remember to give, advocate. Boy, we need to reach out, because there has been some very deep cuts in the state of New Hampshire to developmental services, and that has impacted programs such as Rise for Baby and Family. So I encourage you to get out there and talk to your senators, talk to your reps, and let them know that these are important services, and do it not because maybe it's your child, but it could be your neighbor, a family member, a friend. This will touch you in many ways, and if it hasn't touched you yet, you never know when it will. So get out there and advocate, give, advocate, and volunteer. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Emily, I want to thank you for joining us and for the great work that you do.
Thank you.
And audience, I want to remind you, get out there, give, volunteer, advocate. Thanks for joining us.